She had been born with a different name to a woman with laughing eyes and warmly whispered words of love who'd died degraded and afraid on a misty Irish morning. C.S. Harris. For the first time she could see a man's head naked of its skull. Saw the cunning thoughts race in and out through the caves and promontories of his mind long before they darted through the tunnel of his mouth. Zora Neale Hurston. Give a man a noble cause and he would fight to the death for what he believed in, but get the woman he loves to leave him and his once honorable principles would cease to be quite so important. Mike Gale. God bless ladies with costly tasteful clothes and touching dirty fingernails that champion gifted foreign poets and decorate the library in beautiful melancholy fashion. My God, this universe is nothing to snicker at. J.D. Salinger. I have 100 reasons to dislike this gentleman, Erica reminded herself aloud. And 1,000 reasons more not to go courting with any man. Lavinia laughed at that. Whenever has a woman's heart listened to her head? Davis Bunn. Do you believe a man can truly love a woman and constantly betray her, never mind physically, but betray her in his mind, in the very poetry of his soul? Well, it's not easy, but men do it all the time. Mario Puzo. No, she was just a woman. And that meant she could feel, she could need, she could give, and she could receive. Laura Lee Girk. A woman who would steal your love when your love was really all you had to give was not much of a woman. Stephen King. The sign of a true woman isn't the ability to recite French poetry, or play the pianoforte, or cook Chateaubriand. The sign of a true woman is learning to listen to her own voice even when society does its best to drown it out. Eve Marie Mont. There was a being whom my spirit oft met on its visioned wanderings far aloft. A seraph of heaven too gentle to be human, veiling beneath that radiant form of woman. Percy Bysshe Shelley. I told Ella Mae Cheeks Johnson, then age 105, that she was the only person over 80 who I'd ever met who never referred to her physical infirmities or health problems. To which she replied, I have my difficulties, I do not rejoice in them. Patricia Mulcahy. There's little of the melancholy element in her, my lord. She is never sad, but when she sleeps, and not ever sad then, for I have heard my daughter say she hath often dreamt of unhappiness, and waked herself with laughing. William Shakespeare. Well, if manners mocketh man, makeup mocketh woman, and we don't need a phalanx of behavioral scientists to explain why men judge women by their looks, because they see better than they think. Kathy Lett. Then may I tell you that the very next words I read were these: Chloe liked Olivia, do not start. Do not blush. Let us admit in the privacy of our own society that these things sometimes happen. Sometimes women do like women. Virginia Woolf. No man ever truly possesses a woman anyhow, said Gita's moodily. He has her body for a time if he's lucky, but only the most fleeting glimpse into her soul. Gita's was a poet, or wanted to be. Guy Gavriel K. Her name is Denise and she has green eyes and red hair. Well, this week. Last week her hair was dyed blonde and she had blue eyes. Or maybe that was a different woman. I don't know. All I know is that she is my soulmate. Jared Kintz. 101 Reasons Why It's Great to Be a Woman. We have 3 times the amount of potential sick leave. Take into account all those days you are unable to work owing to pre-, during, and post-menstrual tension. Summersdale Publishers. And still you'll hesitate to tell him what you why, because you're a woman. Is your destiny such a small thing then, to keep your legs open and your mouth shut? David Hewson. For a man to think he can fulfill his destiny without a woman is a misunderstanding, a miscalculation. It is reckless and folly. Certainly a woman is not everything, but everything depends on her. Yasmina Khadra. Every poem is an infant labored into birth, and I am drenched with sweating effort, tired from the pain and hurt of being a man. In the poem I transform myself into a woman. Jimmy Santiago Baca. I see myself, in those pages, as she goes back and forth simply enjoying the beauties of the moments, then chastising herself for having no edge, being simple and worse, harmless. Michael Cunningham. Henry was thinking of the younger Holland sister, of the way she could go from being an impetuous girl to a knowing woman in a few seconds, and never lose the stars in her eyes. Anna Godberson. I think a great book title would be Ida Says I Do in Idaho. It would be about a divorce in Washington state, and the protagonist would be a woman, though I'm not sure what her name should be. Jared Kintz. Una rosa se de pert en su sangre y en sombrasai sus mejillas. Un agitado aliento sepa los talos de sus labios que temblan. Sobre ella sople el gran viento sur de pasan y movi los delicados pliegos de su vestido. Oscar Wilde. But not she. Her eternity is an article of her faith. Great wars and disasters can ebb and flow, races rise and fall, empires wither with suffering and death, but these are superficialities. She, woman, is perpetual, essential, she will go on forever. John Wyndham. She expressed an opinion that the happiness of a woman in paradise is beneath the soles of her husband's feet. He enlightened humorously, seemingly not at all averse to her obvious desire to be comforted. Margaret Rome. Our kingdom is our life, and our life is our kingdom. We are all meant to rule from a glorious place. When God is on the throne, then so are we. When God is in exile, our lands are at war and our kingdoms are in chaos. Marianne Williamson. They came to her naturally, since she was a woman all day long with this and that, one wanting this another, that the children were growing up. She often felt she was nothing but a sponge sopped full of human emotions. Virginia Woolf. You can't go through life striking out at people who hurt or scare you. All that does is show them that you're weak. It tells them that they've wounded you, and a strong woman never shows her wounds unless it serves a purpose. Lisa Catch. I ain't the only old woman looking. I'm just the only one honest enough to admit it. The others just hire the boy to cut their grass so they can sit at the window and drool. Glines Abbey. That is why it could happen anywhere given the right ingredients. Particular people in government competing with others or with each other over natural and wealth-creating resources. Clea Koff. A woman could do that to you, reach that place in your soul where the best and worst of you was kept. And once she was there, she owned that place and never left. Lisa Kleypas. Her vice takes hold of her again, but she still refrains until some moment when, gnawed by some hideous caprice, she comes aground like a mournful wreck ruined by lust in the midst of her own banal perfidious pollution. Jean Lorraine. I wanted to drown inside a woman in the feeling and drooling of the love I could give her. I wanted her pulse to crush me with its intensity. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted myself to be. Marcus Zusak. I also was persuaded that the woman most in need of liberation was the woman in every man, just as the man most in need of liberation was the man in every woman. William Sloane Coffin. It was a boyish thing to do, and it caught the hesitating girl in the depths of her heart, as the boy element in a man ever appeals to a motherly woman. Jean Stratton Porter. We can't look to the world to restore our worth, we're here to restore our worth to the world. The world outside us can reflect our glory, but it cannot create it. It cannot crown us. Only God can crown us, and He already has. Marianne Williamson. Nature wishes that woman should attract man, yet she often cunningly molds into her face a little sarcasm which seems to say, yes, I am willing to attract, but to attract a little better kind of a man than any I yet behold. Ralph Waldo Emerson. It became clear to her that all men, however respectable in appearance and however elevated their position in society, were utter weaklings in front of a beautiful woman. The Yacubian Building, page 42-inch. Allah al-Aswani. The new or future Eve is emptied of all inner life and turned into a shell. The bitter irony in this is that her perfection recalls nothing so much as a corpse. Asti Hustvet.